You guys are in for a treat after this class. I hope you all stay and listen to the fantastic duo of Barbara and Karen doing a concert at 11:30.
You know, I wasn't nervous till this morning.
Me either.
I woke up this morning and went, oh, so man, I got up at like 6 o'clock. I started practicing,
You and me.
writing on my notes, and I'm going, what am I doing? I need to practice what I preach.
Yes.
So I realized over the last 3 weeks that practicing, there's a method to it. And unless you perform, like play for Chicken Club, or you have a song that you need to complete, I don't think I ever really practice unless I have to do that. So it kind of inspired me to finish out this boot camp, because we don't have class now until September. And then we'll let you all know what's going to happen with our levels, and Wednesdays, keep that day open, because most everything's going to be on Wednesday. But I suddenly realized that I play a lot, but I don't really work a lot at it. I kind of just sit and just play. So some of these songs we're doing, and especially for me, because I've been playing the organ for so long, when you put me on a piano, something happens in my brain that sets off this reaction of panic when I play. So, because organists and people who play not so much keyboard, organists read music like this. They're vertical readers. Can you get that? Because the keyboards are stacked on top of each other, and usually organ music is 3 staffs, and you read it this way. Okay? Piano players read music horizontally, this way. So consequently, when you're used to playing an organ and you switch to a piano, it feels like your eyeballs are getting pulled like this, at least for me. So the transition is really hard to do for me, because I preach and preach and preach. And some of you that have been in here for extra help about this, what's this called? The bobblehead effect. Look up, look down, look up, look down. Well, I don't have a bobblehead effect on the organ. But on the piano, because I'm not used to having my hands like this, I'm used to having them like this, the piano is a different story. Because now I have 88 keys this way to think about. So I'm trying to figure out how the things that I teach you should apply to me. So last night, it's all quiet in my house, and I'm going, okay, I gotta practice the piano. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, there's this one run in this one song. I haven't hit it yet. You can relate?
Yes.
I am just and I'm going, it is not working. And then I realized that I wasn't doing what I tell you to do. Okay? Do as I do, not as I say. Not do as I say, not as I do. So I had to sit there for probably an hour and figure out the pattern, where it was going and how I was going to get there, and a backup plan in case it didn't work. Okay? Which meant leaving out a couple of notes in panic time. So now I'm a little more settled. I haven't hit it right yet, so I won't even tell you which one it is. You'll get to listen, you'll know. And I won't tell you what song. But practicing is painful. I was exhausted when I was done. You too, Barb?
Yes.
Because now, so we're switching back and forth. We're doing some harpsichords and some organs and some country and some marches. And so switching back and forth has prompted me to realize that this piece of paper right here, if you do, this is a summation of all the classes we've done in the last 5 weeks. This paper will guide you through the whole fall season in our class. You have 3.5 weeks before we get together again to look to do this over and over and over and get it under your belt. Now yesterday, Minnie Lou came in, and she has a book that I love. It's a big band kind of, all the old standards of music. And we're talking about the things that we're doing here that apply in that book, and almost every single song has all or part of one of these progressions in it. Have you noticed since you've been practicing, and since you've been here, that is the case? That you're playing these songs and all of a sudden you go, oh, there's that chord progression, I see it. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to practice this, because it's flat out boring. Practicing is not interesting, it's not inspiring, but it's interesting. Now, a few months ago we had the Organ Fest here, right? How many of you came to hear it? The kids and all that? The Organ Fest, I worked on a country song. I did a medley. And you want to talk about nervous, because remembering all the presets and all the stuff, and there's a run in there, da-da-da-da, and root beer right, and I was always in a panic, and I practiced and practiced. Today I'm going to play it for you again, and I nailed it. You know why? Because the practice stuck with me. You know, when I wasn't nervous this morning, I probably will be this afternoon, but, you know, I'm like, wow, my fingers, they just went. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, I've noticed if I don't think about it, my hands do exactly what they're supposed to. It's when I think about it
Right.
that I have the problem.
It's the training. Now, when you're by yourself, you can kind of fake people out. But when you're playing with a duet, you can't do that. Because if you fake people out, the person that's playing with you better be able to be attentive and hear that you did it. Okay, so when you work on these chords, I'm going to show you how to make it interesting. Or would you like to do it boring?
Interesting, please.
Interesting, yes. Boring?
The other thing I'd like you to show us is some of these chords, when you go from one chord to the other, you have to move all of your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a break in the music. There's got to be a way to do that so there isn't a break in the music.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. It's, yes.
I was going to say this week, I've been taking ukulele lessons. I know you're doing ukulele lessons. Last week,
Ukulele lesson?
yes. Last week, guess what he brought?
The circle? My circle?
No, not yours, but it's the same circle.
Really?
Yes, this is what he should.
That's good. And it's going the same direction? Smart ukulele teacher. Okay. Now, here's the deal. Look at the progression that says 16251 down on the bottom down here. Oh, how did you shoot? I know. Sorry. Okay. See how the C chord goes to the A minor? Here's how your brain has to process that. Look at the C chord, G, C, E. Look at the A minor chord, A, C, E. What are the common notes?
C,
See, there's two common notes, right? So all it means is I move my G note up to an A. That's easy, isn't it? But now look at D minor. There's two ways you can play a D minor chord. I know, it's not the way anybody plays it. But in this progression, and you have to play it this way. Otherwise, you have to pick up all your fingers and move them. Okay, so look. If I play a C chord here, and then I'm studying C, A minor, just one note. Now, if you're having a hard time with that, here's how I'll remember it. The A minor chord spells ace. And the D minor chord spells fad. When I was out at college and I started learning chords, that's how I remember them. Fad. Okay, but a C chord goes to A minor. If I want to go to a D minor chord, the way I would normally play it, it would go here. You can't do that without looking. So the easiest way to do it is to hold this A and do that. Pick up the top two notes and move them one.
Yeah.
C chord, A minor, D minor. Now look, G7, these two notes stay put. This one gets split. See, I just take that finger and split it. So not only do I have to work on the notes that I'm playing, I also have to work on the fingers that I'm using, right? C, A minor, D minor, G7. That is probably, after the blues, C, F, C, G, the most common chord progression you will ever find. All right. Now, look at the blues one on the top.
One more thing, if you call that going from C to A minor to D minor to G7 back to C, you can feel it.
Right.
You don't even have to look. You can feel that little finger going up to A or G. You can just feel it.
Yeah, your hands will train.
Your hands, and you can just feel those two fingers going up to D and F. You can just feel it.
See, you just go C, A minor, D minor, G7, C, A minor, D minor, G7, C. And you just do it over and over and over and over and over. Same thing, remember when you first started playing and you learned C and F and C and G? You don't have to think about that anymore, do you? How come? Is it the easiest chord progression? No. It's just the first chord progression. So C, hold the middle note, F, go back to C, hold the bottom note, G. Now here's, when I teach beginners, here's how I teach them. C chord is pointer on C, little poem. Pointer on C, up, 2, down, 3. Say it. Pointer on C, up, 2, down, 3. All right? For a G chord, I go down. Get it? Go. G goes down. Hold the bottom note and go down. See? Pick the top two notes up and move them down. And it's just at every other note. That's an easy chord. Back to C. Then an F chord, you fly up. F starts with fly. Fly starts with F. So you hold the middle note and you raise the bottom one and the top one. So it's C, go down, C, fly up. See? So if you're just beginning, that's what you've been doing all this time. But see, for me, I have to explain it to myself. I can't just memorize it. I have to find a pattern that works for me. I haven't found it yet in that one song. It's the strangest chord run, but we'll go really slow when we get to the, she knows where it is. When we get to that part, and we'll pray.
And you have to go slow in my bad one.
That's right. And your shirt that you have on, Shirley, I'll just keep turning around looking at you.
I have one for you.
Stand up, look at her shirt. I need that shirt bad.
Oh,
Oops. Relax, God is in control.
yes.
That applies to music, for sure.
I have one for you, but I forgot.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank you. Okay. Boy, do I need that this week.
Yeah, okay, this one you got.
How did you know? C, F, C, G. Now look at the second one, the seventh chord progression. All right, this one you play a C chord, and the seventh, remember, where is the seventh? Give me the rule. One whole step left of the root. Say it again. One whole step left of the root. So you find the name of the chord and you go 1 half step, 2 half steps equals 1 whole step. So C, C7. Okay, we're going to do this one though. We're going to go a C, and that should not have a 7 in it. Take your pencil and cross that B flat off. I got carried away.
The B flat off.
Yeah, take the pencil and cross off the B flat. You don't want to see 7 there.
How about at the bottom of that?
Oh yeah, I made another mistake, huh?
How about at the bottom, the C at the bottom of that?
Yeah, and at the bottom too. Cross that B flat off also. On that C, on the C chord down there, cross off that B flat. Just the whole B, the whole thing. And there's another boo-boo, thank you. Up here on the F chord, it's supposed to be A, C, F. I did this last night, like at 4:30. So it's A, C, F, not If you play G, C, F, it's going to be pretty obvious it's not right. So the F chord right there is A, C, F.
And it says E.
No, it says G.
It says G, C, E.
Okay, that whole F chord. I'm not even going to say what I'm thinking. The F chord is A, C, F. And the computer did it. A, C, and F. See, I actually did it on purpose so you would see if you were paying attention. And we just talked about it and nobody said anything until just now.
We talked about it.
We talked about it. A, C, F. I think the rest were going to be okay. Hopefully. All right, here's the C chord. Look, it's going to go to E chord. How do you spell an E chord? G sharp, B, E. Look, I'm already on E. All right, so I got to get my fingers correct because I'm going to play an E7. So this finger is going to go here, and these two are going to go there. C, E. Now here's what I suggest. Don't play 4 notes at the same time. Play the C chord, play the E chord, then add the 7th. Okay, it's going to sound really good. Now look, to get to A, look how easy. Here's the A right here. And A7 is here. And I'm going to play a D here because I'm already on my way there. And a 7 and a G. And I'm going to kind of move my fingers a little bit and play the 7th up here. And go back to C.
Could on the G7 there that you just did, couldn't you just extend your little finger and play 2 keys?
You could do that, but now how am I going to get to C chord easy? I can go down here if I
Slide
want.
your little finger back up.
Well, I could.
Just slide your little finger back up.
But it's going to be easier, trust me, if you go up to G7. Don't get in the habit of playing a G7 chord like that. Play it like this. Okay. If you, and you know what, if you already know chords and you're inverting them to get where you want to be, I don't care. It doesn't matter, but when you're learning, you got to find some kind of structure. And the rule, what's the rule for where your chord should be? There's middle C. They should be in the octave of Fs. Right? A lot of people put a little sticker on this note and a little sticker on that note. If you go below that F or above that F, you are working way too hard. Okay? Every single chord I can play in that octave. If that's all the notes you had on your lower keyboard or on that left side of your keyboard, that's all you would need. So see, I can play C, C7, F, G, D, A, B, B flat, everything. Right there. And I don't have to look. That's the key. I don't want to have to look. That's why when you have to read the bass clef and play the piano, I have to look. Because I'm not in my secure little area. They're way out of it. Way out of it. Okay? All right. How many of you know the blues progression? Raise your hand. If you're comfortable with number 1, C, F, C, come on, raise your hand. I'm not going to make you get up and play it. Just, you can play C chord, F chord, C chord. Let me see your hands.
You can't find it all the time without.
She's good. I know she knows. All right. Now look at the next one. The 7th chords. How many of you are, some of you are going, How many of you are comfortable with that? Good. And how about the bottom? C, A minor, D minor, G7, C. Good. Now this is kind of your meter. If you can play these 3 sets of chords, you can pretty much play every song there is. What happens if you pick up, do you know if you have a Reader's Digest book?
Yes.
They have the chords from hell. Sure do. There's chords in there that you couldn't even say. C suspended 9th with a raised 5th, and you go, So what do? Skip them.
You don't know?
No. Now wait a minute. They're called garbage chords. You know in any key what chords are going to be the ones that you need the most. So when you get home, pick up a book that has like horrendous chords in it and look at it. Okay, let me show you a little trick. Garbage chords are called fillers. They're chords that are put in a song for advanced people to make them sound really good. And when you start to play them, they're amazing. If you haven't ever played a ninth chord,
They're gorgeous.
they're gorgeous chords. But when you're a beginner and a ninth chord appears, you just go, oh, I don't know that chord. So watch. Remember, have the circle memorized? C, what's at 1 o'clock? F.
And then beats.
And then B. B flat. It's just like a clock. E flat, A flat, D flat. Remember the little lady in my class? It says you put beads on a string. Get it? You put beads on a string, a G string. G flat's down there. Okay? C, F, B flat on a G. Okay? Then, coming up the back, it's B, E, A, D. Beat again with no flats on it. And a G. And that's the circle. So you might want to memorize that at some point. But watch. Let's say you pick up a piece of music and it has one sharp in it. Okay. What key are you in?
G.
G. Now how do you know that? You can use the circle to help you figure it out. Look. Key of C has no sharps, no flats. Key of F has, it's at what time is it on the clock? 1 o'clock. The key of F has one flat. The name of the flat is B flat. Oh. What key has two flats? The one at 2 o'clock. B flat. Now, don't think so hard. Some of you are going, I can tell by your faces. This is just cheating. You don't have to know scales. You don't have to know anything. B flat's at 2 o'clock. So there's two flats. What are they? B and E. Okay? What key has 3 flats? E flat. What are they? B, E, and A. What key has 5 flats? 5 o'clock. You're thinking, stop thinking. 5 o'clock, 5 flats. What are they? B, E, A, D, and G. Amazing, huh?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now look at this. The right half of the circle is flatty keys. All right? Now, if you want to know more about the circle, I have a 2-set DVD that we did. We did a whole series of classes on the circle. We did 2, actually. So if you can get the DVD and you can watch it at home. We've done some on our website, musicatnewcastle.com. Click on circle, and there's probably some on there too. But look at the left side. The left side of the circle is sharps. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, most circles don't appear like this. The sharps are usually over here. They're reversed. Okay, but we don't use that circle. This one's more practical. Key of C has no sharps, no flats. Now think of a backwards clock. You've seen some of those retirement clocks? Okay. This is what, if I ask you what key has 1 sharp, you just go back 1 and it's the key of G. And it means you have to sharp all the F notes. Okay? What key has 2 sharps? D. They are F and C. And in regular music, you'll see them like this. Hanging around at the beginning of the song. As a beginner, that just tells you 2 things. You have to sharp all the F's and all the C's in the song. They'll only tell you once. That's another thing. That same song that has that run in it has like a whole bunch of accidentals, which means they added a bunch of sharps in there. Okay? 3 o'clock has 3 sharps. Now, I don't want to go into a lot of detail here, but here's the reason that I'm going there. You pick up a piece of music that has just horrible chords in it, and you don't want to play all the chords, and you need to know which ones aren't garbage, then you just refer to your circle. Okay, how can you tell what key you're in if you don't get any of this? The first chord of the song, if it matches the last chord of the song, is usually the same as the key signature. So if you pick up a piece of music and the first chord's G, and you look at the end and the last chord is G, then you're in the key of G. Do you know how long I played music before anybody told me that? People would say, what key is it? I gotta figure all this stuff. Nobody told me if you just look at the, usually 90% of the time, the first chord is the name of the key signature. Okay? What does key signature mean? It means that the composer used the scale. The word key and the word scale mean the same thing. Use the C scale or the G scale to write the song. Okay. That's in the beginner book. You guys all have that book? Okay. Now, when you play, if I'm playing a song and the first chord is G, here's how you tell what chords are garbage and which ones aren't. I gotta find my eraser. My classy eraser. Alright. So you pick up a piece of music and the first chord is G. Usually means you're in the key of G. Alright? And you have a song with a whole bunch of chords in it. And you want to weed out the garbage ones, the ones that are hard that you don't want to use. All you have to do is find the G chord here, go one to the left and one to the right. You're never going to, hardly ever, let's say, go more than one to the right. Okay? And you will very rarely go more than straight across to the left. Okay? So, here are your choices, and let's use C as an example first. If there's no sharps and no flats, and the first chord is C, the 3 chords that you're going to see are F and G. You could probably play that entire piece with those 3 chords. If they don't work, then you cut across to 9 o'clock. Alright? And that's usually an A minor. That's called the relative minor. That's the cousin to C. And then you go one to the right and one to the left. And there's probably the only chords in that whole song that you need to think about. C major, G major, F, A minor, D minor, E. And if those aren't, the minors don't work, they could be majors. And that's it. So that's why when we make a circle, we always make it so you can turn it. Because I don't know about you, but if I just have it stationary like this, it's kind of hard to think of 9 o'clock as your relative, okay? Like D, G, and A, and then B minor is the relative, E minor and F sharp minor. G flat and F sharp are the same note. Okay? So, does that make sense? So a lot of times and the chords that you need that aren't garbage usually are on the first beat of the measure. Okay, the ones that are in the middles, the ones that appear in the middle of a measure usually are the garbage chords. Or we call them enhanced the song. I call them garbage. You don't need them. If you skip them, nobody's going to know. All right. So when you're practicing, if you have a song that has a whole bunch of chords in it, you had one yesterday, Cheek to Cheek, that had a bunch of D minor chords in there. They didn't need to be there. You could have left them out and nobody would have known. Okay? So when you're practicing now, if there's chords in there you don't like and you don't need, and sometimes you just don't like them. I don't like the way that chord sounds. Then take your white out. I love white out. And, okay? Or take your highlighter and just highlight the good ones. The ones that you have to play. Alright? And the ones that you leave out are not important. You can add them later as you get better and you learn the chords more. You learn them better. Learn them more better. You learn them better, then you can add them in. Make sense?
Say that last thing again. About highlighting.
Highlight the good chords and white out the bad ones. Or just highlight the ones that you absolutely have to have. Okay? And the other ones, just don't use them. Are you doing that already?
I do.
Come on, admit it.
No.
No?
We've
Just-
been trying to plan it.
Just because they're there doesn't mean that they have to be there. And have you noticed in big note easy play books? Sometimes you're playing along and you don't assume that whoever wrote that song or that arrangement didn't make a mistake. Have you found any mistakes in any? Yes.
I found a book that the letters inside the notes were wrong.
Yes. So there's typos. Well, I do typos. Okay? So don't assume that the chord is there because some expert put it there. Sometimes in big note easy play, they put chords in to make them easier that don't sound very good. Have you noticed? And you go, ew, what were they thinking? Well, there should have been a more advanced chord there, but they needed to keep it like in a 3-chord book. The 3-chord book has some very interesting chords in it. So you might hear a chord that should be there that isn't there. So then what do you do? Okay, remember the class we did last week? If you're on an E note and you're playing a C chord and it doesn't sound good, what are your other choices for that chord? A E minor or A minor or E. And try another chord that has that note in it and see if that sounds better. Okay, so far so good? See, I'll give you a little secret. When Barbara and I worked on all these duets, it's hard to find piano and organ duets. You can't, I went online and nobody even prints them anymore hardly. I guess because they figure nobody plays the organ anymore. But when you start to not be so afraid, and I'm going to probably direct this at you just for a minute, okay? You look at a piece of music and it's kind of like, how many of you cook? All right, think about, my favorite magazine right now is called Cooking Light. I love that magazine. I like to read it. I like to get ideas from it. They talk about herbs and all this good stuff. It's a great magazine. So I read it and I tear out the recipes. And the first time I make the recipe, because I'm not very confident yet in what I'm doing, I always follow the recipe. All right? And then we have it for dinner. And because I'm getting more experience now in knowing how herbs taste and knowing what if I put this in and what it's going to do to it, and watching all these cooking shows, which I love, and how they're able to take a table full of ingredients and throw them together and make something really amazing. See, music is the same thing. You have a basic recipe, and when you're a beginner, you're not very confident, so you follow the recipe exactly, don't you? You play the C chord, you play the big notes, and you know that the spot matches the note, and you're there. At some point, you're gonna have this epiphany, and you're gonna realize that music is not a precise science. It has rules. Rules have to apply if you're playing duets. I have to count. I pretty much can't improvise too much, okay, unless you're my husband who, you know, can improvise with anybody. But I pretty much have to be on the same page as someone else. When I'm playing by myself, I can do whatever I want. If I'm playing the C chord and the C note, I don't hit it and I hit a B instead, I don't care, because that's actually a C major 7. See? If I move that C up to a D, it's a 9. Whoa! I don't know if it's a 9, but that's what ear players do. They don't have a clue what they're doing, but they're playing, and it sounds good. And I've picked a lot of ear players' brains in all the years because it fascinates me. I thought it was very unfair that they get to sit at the piano or the organ and play anything they want, and I have to read the notes. So I started picking at them. All the people I've been in this business for years. So I've met a lot of musicians, and I go, okay, what is it that you know that I don't? And most ear players, if you keep picking at them, can at least give you an idea of what they're thinking. Now, Elaine Callahan's coming to play for us at Grommelbachen, and she called yesterday. She said, what should I do for my workshop? I said, I want you to do something that will let people just relax and just play music. Because how many of you would say that you're relaxed when you play? See? Why is that? I should give you all the Xanax or something. They won't care. The idea when you play music is to enjoy the music. When you're a beginner, everybody's all uptight. When I'm working on a piece, in 10 minutes, my back muscles go, you know, and I'm going, whoa, I'm either getting really old or I'm really stressed. All right, so let me show you how to practice these awful things that you know, just repetition. And when I say piano lessons, I hated it. Scales, triads, all the stuff you have to do. Now, you have instruments that I didn't have when I was growing up and learning. You have instruments that are, someone told you that sold them to you, that are fun. Fun, easy to use, right? Who told you that?
You did.
Yeah, and so, well, how come I get all the blame? Greg, why did you buy a keyboard? How many of you have keyboards? Okay, why did you buy them? Why didn't you buy a piano? Don't like piano. Somebody said, don't buy a piano, they're too hard to learn it. A piano is hard. You have to learn bass clef, you have to learn treble clef. You can't just sit down and play a piano. This is probably going to get some kind of a ripple effect. Piano people. Okay, how many of you have none of you have an acoustic piano, right? How many of you have a clavinova? Okay, same as keyboard, right? Same premise. How many of you have organs? Okay, why did you choose organ? Because I told you to?
Yeah.
I like the sound of it.
Easier to play, right? You guys had a keyboard, switched to organ, everything changed, didn't it? The way it sounds changes, the way you hold your hands change, everything. And if this goes out globally over the internet, it's so sad that people don't buy organs anymore. Organs, they're not church and funeral home instruments anymore. They are more fun than any instrument on this earth. And I don't think I could single-handedly change the way people think, because keyboards kind of do the same thing, but not to the extent that an organ does. Okay, and they don't sound anything like an organ, but they're fun.
I gotta tell you, the other day we had housekeepers in, and there's like 4 of them, they just come in and they like locusts. And she was practicing, and then she thought, well, I'm bothered, and I'll put the headphones on. And one of them, and they don't speak much English, but she says, we like it, tell her to play. And they were blown away what that 900 will do.
You know what? Every place we go, that we take an organ and play, Greg goes out to retirement homes and things like that. We always go to Sun City. People, you know, a lot of people don't come because it's labeled organ concert. We don't do that anymore. We call it a music concert or something. They're blown away at what they hear. And most of them they think there's some recording going on. If you listen to Greg's CD, I love to listen to his CD in my car. It is, you would never in a million years know it was an organ, ever. You couldn't tell.
You'd think it was a whole orchestra.
You'd think it was a whole orchestra. It's amazing. You can order it, by the way, I'll just put a little plug in. You can order his CD on our website, right? Nope. SilentMovieGuide.com. Right, Greg?
He's not here.
Where'd he go? Well, anyway, you can email us at WeSellFun@yahoo.com and we'll get you his CD. It's great. All right. So now let me show you how to have some fun while you're doing this. Practicing means you just sit there and have to play these. Now, when I was learning on a Lowry, it was a little holiday. Didn't even have drums then. You know, I just sat there and just went. Over and over, and I had to play notes. It's boring. All right. Now, because you guys all have these new fancy pants instruments, you can just hit a rhythm, hit one touch. Now, there is no way that you can listen to that and not feel happy. Is there? You have to feel happy. I mean, it makes you smile. I just pushed Country Ballad 2. So I'm going to play number 1 up there. Now here's a suggestion. Most people practice chords with only one hand. You should practice chords with 2 hands. If you're going to suffer, you might as well do both hands at the same time. Now, this is how your ear starts to develop. I can start to play just the chord. See, I can roll the chord. Let's put on a piano. I'm playing a C chord. How do you spell it? C, E, and G. And I can go. I just made it up. When Barbara and I are going to play Dueling Banjos for you, it's just C, F, and G chord, the whole silly song. Somebody wrote that, just playing. They just took a C chord and went. C, 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 F, C. If I didn't practice the chords with both hands, that would take me a long time to do that. So while you're training this hand, you might as well train this hand. Okay? Then, if you go to the second one, C chord. E chord. A chord. D chord. Now, you hear people doing that all the time, don't you?
What's the rhythm you're using on that?
Biggest bend. Now watch, if I poke that chord, mood. Okay? The next one, if you put it on oldies, and you just do something like, now you guys were all around in the 50s, right? I was. By the way, my husband and I are hooked on this show called Mad Men. Do you ever watch it? Huh? It's been on for like 5 years and I never noticed it. It was on some other channel. It was done in the 50s. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. It's about an advertising agency. So we're watching it now on Netflix, and we can stream it on Hulu or whatever. And it's got the best music in it because it's all old 50s. Oh, never mind. Okay, so now I can do this. You know how many songs were written with that? A minor, D minor. Let's put a little saxophone. And pretty soon, you start to go, yeah, I'm cool.
See, it makes it seem so easy.
It is easy. You know what it takes? Guts. It just, if you don't try it and just let loose and not be afraid, that's all it takes. You have to be able to step out of the box and go, as long as my chords are working for me, and even if they're not, if you're one note off, remember you're never more than one note away from the right note, you can play music. The key is that paper. You have to learn those 5 sets of chords on the right column and those 3 sets of progressions on the left column. Okay? If you do that, because the ones on the right are where the chord usually goes. C chord usually goes to F. C chord usually goes to G. D chord usually goes to G. E chord usually goes to A. Learn them in those sets and practice and rehearse them. It's a great way to get to know your instrument. You have hundreds of rhythms, and I'll bet you haven't listened to half of them. And when you get bored with the ones on the instrument, if you have an organ, you get a disc and you use the new ones, the style discs. And you find new ones. Okay? You have 3 weeks. If you come back and you're comfortable with that, wait till you see what will happen. We're going to do songs. Actually, we apply these now.